For all of these issuers, we can see BlackRock's spot ETF deadline is August, others are in July, we have June, even May. What's up guys, Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. We'll keep this video short and sweet. I want to briefly go over some price charts, then we're going to dive into some recent news. Alright, first up, taking a look at today's price action. I know in previous videos we've gone in depth and have compared the 2017 cycle, where we also created an all-time high, came back down, consolidated, and then later did that first major move. I also want to point out the price action that we had in December 2020, the week of the 14th, when Bitcoin drew its first major move in all-time highs. Not wicks to the all-time high or wicks just above the cycle top. We're looking for that first weekly fat candle above, taking out the previous cycle top. And when this happened, this was like, oh baby, this is the confirmation we're looking for alts, not just to retrace and be volatile up down, but to actually have that potential to return really well. And notice this first major move when Bitcoin pushed well into all-time highs on the weekly time frame. Ethereum was not at an all-time high, it was at retracement similar to today. So last cycle versus Ethereum, Bitcoin led the way. It drove into its major move into all-time highs. A couple weeks later, on December 28th, during that week, the total crypto market cap created an all-time high price, also thanks to Bitcoin driving higher. And during that exact week is when Bitcoin dominance found its top and crashed. As Bitcoin dominance crashed, Bitcoin was pushing into higher highs. So that was the recipe for the in quotes alt season last cycle, in tandem with other things like global liquidity increasing. So I know I went over that in detail with the charts looking at the exact dates, but I do think that's important to reference. Looking at today, by Bitcoin's previous cycle top, we popped above, but we've yet to see that first major move. And Ethereum has drawn some waves to the upside, but we've yet to see an all-time high price, similar to last cycle. Now we know that BlackRock filed for their spot Ethereum ETF back in November. Here on Blockworks, we can see the Ethereum ETF tracker. So right here, we can see which ones are running under the status. Futures, 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 as we scroll down to the spot ETFs. So we can actually sort this right here for the final deadline date for the spot ETFs. For all of these issuers, we can see BlackRock's spot ETF deadline is August, others are in July, we have June, even May. So I do believe that an Ethereum spot ETF is just a matter of time. I know that Robert Mitchnick, head of digital assets over at BlackRock, said their number one focus is Bitcoin, then Ethereum, and then maybe 3 other investable assets. So I'm always wondering, what are the other 3 investable assets? I would assume in the top 10, top 20. Now we don't know the path that's going to happen, if things are going to be delayed, if there's typical MSM FUD or the SEC always just tries to throw a curveball. We don't know, but I do believe an Ethereum spot ETF is just a matter of time. And Raoul Pal makes a great point, highlighting Bitcoin being over 3 times larger than Ethereum. So Ethereum's market cap is over 3 times smaller. So even if people speculatively rotate some Bitcoin or billions of dollars of Bitcoin into Ethereum either before or after the approval of a spot ETF, that could be some really interesting price action. I know the all-time high market cap was over $500 billion or 570 billion, and Bitcoin already reached over 1 trillion. Will we see assets reach over a $1 trillion market cap in the future? I'm fully convinced long-term, but to each their own. Now looking at the Bitcoin monthly price chart over the past 10 plus years, looking at these multiple cycles. So friendly reminder, when I'm looking at the monthly and the weekly time frame, this is not the tomorrow chart, no matter how bad I want prices to move. We have the Bitcoin halvings. We also have the election years marked in November every 4 years. I've got my trend lines and my internal trend lines looking at each cycle. And historically showing during bull runs, especially once we get to an all-time high price, the importance of holding above the 8 EMA on the monthly time frame or the 21-week EMA on the weekly chart. So just looking at this, after Bitcoin creates an all-time high price, taking out its previous cycle top, it has historically always led to significantly higher moves. It's done it here, it's done it here, it's done it here, and that's personally why I expect it to be the same. If you disagree, that's completely fine. I've never seen Bitcoin wick into all-time highs and just crash back down to cycle lows, so that personally doesn't make sense for me. Of course, anything's possible, and that would throw me for a huge curveball. I know in 2017 we created a high and it took 2 months to finally break higher, but notice all of these have at least held these trend lines and internal trend lines on the way up. So we're going to see what 2024 has in store. We can see price action even after elections has typically been very bullish. And like any market, specifically crypto, it is a wild ride. There are so many potential catalysts, such as the Ethereum spot ETF, but there's also concerns, regulatory concerns, Uniswap Wells notice, discussions and FUD of World War III, and then also concerns with Iran and Israel, so anything's possible. And I just know the market can always surprise us. It always just takes one piece of news or one big weekly candle to completely change sentiment. And I've even just been looking at basic models and indicators for Bitcoin, such as the stock to flow model. And looking at where we're at today, so overall it's a big picture uptrend for the Bitcoin price chart. Up, consolidate, up, consolidate, up, consolidate. Even looking at the colors, this is actually representing the days until the next halving, which we just had. Historically, at least, after purple, we turn into like a reddish orange and have gone on a run. So we've done it here. We've done it here after purple. We've gone on a run. We've also had purple after the Black Swan in March 2020, and then red, and we've gone on a run. So we just finished up purple, and it looks like we're red today. Looking at the pi cycle that accurately mapped Bitcoin swing highs or market cycle tops 4 times within a matter of days or even just a couple weeks. Where we have this golden cross, so the yellow moving average cuts up through the green. That marked the cycle top, or at least this cycle high right here. It also marked the cycle top almost perfectly right there. It did the same thing over here in 2017 in December, as well as 2021. So I know here, Bitcoin later created a higher high where there is bearish divergence. But even using this indicator to get well above 60K is still relatively close to the all-time high for Bitcoin, or the previous cycle top. So bottom line, we have not had the golden cross, so we are nowhere near the cycle top if you're looking at the pi cycle top indicator. Alright, let's run through some recent news and we'll call it a day. So this was big, shared by the HBAR Foundation. Today we witness real-world asset history as BlackRock's ICS US Treasury Money Market Fund is tokenized on Hedera with Archax along with Onera. So bringing BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, on-chain. You can read the full article shared by the HBAR Foundation. I've already seen a lot of people and even MSM misinterpret this. Money market funds are super common to be tokenized. We know that Aberdeen, at least per that previous interview with Duncan, shared that they tokenized over $20 billion on top of Hedera. So this is the future, but I also want to point out, and I've shared many times, different interviews of Duncan, who is on the board of directors of Hedera, and he is the senior investment manager over at Aberdeen. So Aberdeen is the UK's largest fund manager. So be sure to check out some interviews of Duncan over at Aberdeen. I know that Max Walker has some amazing older interviews along with the Blockchain Journal. I did upload part of the clips of that video before. And in quotes, we are pleased to be expanding our partnership with Onera to further leverage their Fin P2P network for distribution of tokenized shares in money market funds and to help facilitate our first multi-million-dollar trade on Hedera 2. So if you're curious, you can check out Onera as well, liquidity for the global tokenization market, and you can check out their technology. So we're familiar with this group Archax. They're working with a variety of organizations and many digital assets. And they are fully regulated by the UK's Financial Conduct Authority, or the UK's FCA, also working with Medico, Ripple's company. And Eugene in Discord pointed this out. This was shared by Archax over a year ago. They added Hedera and Algorand to the list of protocols that our custody solution can support, with more coming soon. When you go to archax.com, hit custody, and then go to cryptos, you can see all the listed assets that they support. So we can see in collaboration with Medico and IBM, they are leveraging IBM's cloud as well, and I'm curious what other assets will be added in the future and which of these assets will be involved with more projects. Next up, for Ripple, so we've shared by Wrath Economan and Michael 2 very interesting pieces of information. Related to Ripple's response, Ripple's remaining ODL business in the United States uses a non-XRP bridge currency. We can see Michael sharing right here a stablecoin. Immediately following the decision, Ripple's subsidiary terminated one of the 3 US-based customers. Ripple's subsidiary migrated the other 2 US-based customers from using XRP in the ODL product to using a different digital asset, a stablecoin not at issue in the SEC's case against Ripple, as the bridge currency, so that these customers could continue to use Ripple's ODL solution in facilitating their cross-border payments. And just like Anders says right here, so confirmed that Ripple the company is using a stablecoin for ODL in the US currently because of the lawsuit. Perhaps Ripple launching their own US dollar stablecoin is not just for the AMM usage and institutional DeFi, but also for doing on-demand liquidity in the US. And this was also just put out by Ripple, the importance of secure custody for spot Bitcoin ETFs. We know in January, the SEC made history approving 11 spot Bitcoin ETF proposals from huge issuers like BlackRock. How are you going to say no? The first gold ETF took over 2 years to reach $10 billion. So that took 2 years, and for perspective, BlackRock's ETF right here broke that threshold in a mere 7 weeks. So who custodies the institution's Bitcoin today? So when you're buying an ETF, it is backed by real Bitcoin, and it does require real Bitcoin, but when you're buying it, you're just buying a share of the actual fund. Today, Coinbase serves as the custodian for 8 of the 11 recently launched Bitcoin spot ETFs. Traditional ETFs, on the other hand, are issued by asset managers such as BlackRock, and custody is managed by major custodian banks such as BNY Mellon. And this is what's important. Many of these same institutions are not currently able to provide scalable digital asset custody services for Bitcoin ETFs due to limitations imposed by the Staff Accounting Bulletin SAB 121. This new rule issued by the SEC requires them to classify cryptos like Bitcoin as liabilities on their balance sheets, making it cost-intensive for traditional banks to offer crypto custody services. That being said, banks are involved in other aspects of these ETFs, such as fund administrators for Bitcoin ETF applications and other roles. Digital assets featuring blockchain-based infrastructure like the Bitcoin Spot ETF require specialized storage solutions to maintain security, while also supporting liquidity and market activity for investors. For these digital assets, both the underlying asset like Bitcoin as well as the ETF itself require custody. And these digital asset custody providers include cold storage, keeping the assets offline, and multi-sig or multi-signature wallets to protect assets from unauthorized access and cyber threats. So it's really important to choose the correct custodians for these spot ETFs. Security measures, tech infrastructure, regulatory compliance, governance, risk management, etc. So at this point, we know that BlackRock is beginning to tokenize more and more funds, and I would love to see Ripple or Medico involved with more of these big players. We know Medico is working with many large groups, HSBC, IBM, and their huge prediction for crypto. And last but not least for Casper, under the Casper products, we can see that CSPR.name is coming soon. So you can learn more at CSPR.name, and you can also be notified when we can reserve our .casper domain. So we can see they're applying for the .casper top-level domain, similar to .com, .org, .xyz, etc. Critical to digital identity on the internet. Domains have been around for over 40 years, and it's still quite challenging to onboard new users to Web3. And imagine if joining the Casper ecosystem was as simple as typing join.casper into the browser. So they shared an article going over the partnership if you want to read more. If you enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate if you could hit the like button, let me know your thoughts down below, and my link tree is linked in the top of this YouTube video description, with all links, crypto resources, and discounts. I'll catch you in the next one.